Oh no, not again. History repeats itself, and you find yourself going through the same loop and loop and loop. It's never ending, and you don't seem to find your way out. And you wonder why. That's if you wonder. If you don't wonder, this is your opportunity to wonder with me. Why am I going through the same patterns and loops? You go through these thoughts. I don't want to be like my dad. But guess what? You end up being just like your dad. I don't want to be like my mom. And you end up being just like her. And you even maybe find your mom and dad saying, "You're just like my mom. You're just like my dad." And they didn't want to be like their moms and dads. So when you're like their moms and dads, you trigger them. This is because there's something that they still didn't learn. They didn't change it. They didn't realize it. And the story goes on and on and on. A lot of our a lot of the beliefs that we take on, a lot of the things that we don't want, we end up focusing on so much because they become the reality that is there. And when we see this reality, even though we don't want it, yet we're focusing on it. Because one of the things that I learned in NLP is that your mind does not process negatives. It's very simple. It just needs simple instructions. You give it change, it will give it to you. The resistance is all the thoughts that you bring in because you're overthinking and analyzing and trying to see if this is the right thing to do or not. But your mind is very simple. It does not process negatives. So if you say, I don't want this, you're actually wanting this because all your focus is there. And this is what's happening in our realities. So I don't want to be like dad. I don't want to be like mom. Often what's happening is that even when we're not wanting to be like them, we've already taken or stuff that have been passed on, certain beliefs, belief systems, programs, certain decisions that our lineage has taken based on the circumstances that they were living in. Noting that one thing that's very, very important here, we should always believe that they have been doing the best they could with the resources available to them. They only knew that. Could they have done different? Yes, they could. But maybe they didn't have that voice inside of them, or maybe they didn't follow it because they were just wanting to fit in, because they believed that being loved means looking like everybody else, following everybody else. Yeah? So noting that they did the best they can with the circumstances available to them and without judging them. I want to explain to you how these things come. These things come to us. So I'm a child of a particular lineage. And as a child, my lineage lies behind me. And I'm going to draw this for you and I'm going to show it to you. So if we look at 7 generations back, yeah. So this is me here, let's say, and I'm going to show you that. My mother is going to be on my left side and my father is on the right side usually. This is how they're aligned, yeah? And then my father has his mom and his father in the same pattern. So usually, and then the list goes on, yeah? And then you'll have 2 lines here, 2 lines here, 2 lines here, 2 lines here. Yeah, so I just want to show you this. So me, mom, father, mom, father, mom, father. If you look at the lineage and we go through the ancestor line, okay, I'm here today. I have one mom and one dad. And then I have, from my mom and my dad, I have 2 moms and 2 dads. So that's a total of 4. So 2, 4, yeah, and then 8. And then if you go 7 generations behind, that's 64 on the mother lineage. And then you have 64 on the father lineage. So that's 128 ancestors we're talking about. What happens when somebody wakes up and says, enough is enough? They are actually freeing, because they have to go back to the first ancestor that adopted a specific belief or a specific thought or a specific. So let's say money does not earn happiness or money does not buy happiness. Yeah, somebody adopted that belief. So what will happen to you when you have that belief that money does not buy happiness? You're just going to dislike money, or you're going to go for the pursuit of happiness in all routes that is away from money. But then who's going to pay your bills? Then how are you going to cater for your responsibilities? Think about that. And then you wonder why you're not making money. This is one of the things, you know? Another thing could be like, life is not abundant. So always in living in lack. Whatever I do, it's never enough. So what do you think is going to happen to your reality? So usually when we attempt to do ancestral healing, we go back to the first ancestor that took this decision. Believe it or not, you can visit that ancestor and you're going to get a lot of insights. Most of the times, because we have these beliefs running through our system, what happens? The reality is you are no longer in the right place, because what happens is sometimes you're going to assume a higher responsibility. Let's say you have an absent father because your father was trying to search for his own father. So in search for his own father, or let's say your father had an absent father, and your father, without even noticing, became an absent father to you himself, despite the fact that he didn't want to be like his father. Because he's going to do that because it's subconsciously operating in his mind, because that became the normal in his life. That became his comfort zone. Yeah, that became his comfort zone. Whilst he's going and pursuing to find his father, in reality, he's actually going to find himself. He doesn't know it yet. You had an absent father. So what happens in your family dynamic? You will put on the masculine pants on, and you're going to grow up to be the masculine that's been absent for your own mom. So what happens there? You take the role of your father. So the roles are switched. Yeah, look at my arrows up there. The roles are switched. In this role switch, always, we talk a lot about sacrifice, but we don't talk about what we really sacrifice. There's always a sacrifice. You're sacrificing your childhood, or maybe even your teenage years. You're sacrificing yourself because you're growing to be into somebody you're not meant to be. That's not your role. That's not what you're here to do. What do you think happens to the lineage behind you? What do you think happens to the flow of energy behind you? What do you think happens to the flow? It's disrupted because now the flow, the reality is, the same way we receive trauma and unwanted negative beliefs and programs that no longer serve us in our life today, even though we receive all of that, but we're also receiving a lot of wisdom. So we're missing out on a lot of gifts that might be coming from our lineage. Why? Because we're not in our right place. We are the child, not the father. Do you get what I'm saying? When you heal, most of the times when somebody goes, at least this is what happened with me, when I went for healing, I felt like I always said and complained that I never had space. There was no space for me. But in reality, there was. It was just that I wasn't occupying the right place, and hence why I didn't have my space. But I have been given a space in this family. Otherwise, I wouldn't be born into it. I was given a place in this family because there is a purpose. Because maybe I am the one who is waking up and saying, enough is enough. There needs to be another way. And I found that way. You know, for me, it was the way of self-love. For me, it was the way of healing. For me, it was looking back at all of this and looking at my ancestral lineage, whether I blamed them or not, and switching that blame from me playing the victim of, oh, you didn't do that, you didn't do that. Well, I need to ask myself, what am I doing? In me saying that you didn't do that, and you didn't do that, and you didn't change this, and you didn't change that, I'm actually doing the same thing that they did. I'm stuck in the loop. But in reality, I need to ask myself, if I take that responsibility, I need to ask myself and say, what do I need to do to change this? How can I change that? Outside the blame and outside me playing the victim, because as long as I'm playing the victim, nothing's going to change. Because I'm always going to be hopeless and helpless. And history will repeat itself. But I don't want history to repeat itself. I want to create something anew. I want to be different. I want to have a different life. And that's okay. Because no matter what, I'm still going to be loved. And you ask me how I know. And I'll tell you how I know. Because I've done healings. And I've visited ancestors. And I understood. And I had so much compassion and love for them because I had so much compassion and love for myself. And in me visiting them through my womb journeys and through other journeys of self-love as well, through me visiting them, it was journeys of pain and celebration. Even when I channel ancestors for myself or others, you know what's the message that always comes? That always, always, always is repeated. This is what needs to be repeated. Live your life to the fullest. Experience all that you want to experience. We gave you the gift of life. We gave you a space in our lineage. Honor that. And for you to honor that, you need to honor yourself. You need to honor your life. And you need to honor us. And once you honor us, your gifts will unlock. You know, I got my gifts and I discovered that I have these gifts from great, great, great grandmothers that I didn't even know existed. But as I was searching for myself and through my journey, I started getting insights that I need to look into my mother lineage. I need to look into my father lineage. And I discovered that I had great, great grandparents who used to see, who are as clairvoyant as I am, as psychic as I am. And I got these gifts from them and I thank them all the time. But I didn't know that before. And when I met them and I said that, they said, every time I go through healings, they say, free us. Let us be free. You know, let us be free. We want to be free because when we're free, we are freeing the collective. Can you imagine you're going through an ancestry line and you're healing? Let's say you visit your 64th ancestor number 64. Can you imagine how many generations after that 64th ancestor until you came here? That's 7 generations. If you free that 64th ancestor, you're actually freeing 7 generations of people. Can you think or imagine for a moment with me what is the impact on the collective as you free these people? You're freeing humanity. And the effects of that will have, this is when you will realize that there are ripple effects. This is how important your healing is, because as long as you're a victim, you're going to always be a perpetrator. Or your tendency, let me fix that, your tendency to be a perpetrator at some point in time will be higher unless you heal, unless you make your pain your wisdom, unless you jump on the apple, you swim, not just jump, you jump into the everlasting flow of life, into the ebbs and flows of nature, of life itself. You know, so if you want, because now I need to choose my words too, right? If you'd like history to stop repeating itself, then you need to be the person who stands up or who puts their foot down and says, I am ready to change this. And what do I need to do to change this? Do I need to heal? Do I need to reflect back? Do I need to forgive? Do I need to contemplate? Do I need to believe, have more faith? What is it that you need to really set them free and set yourself free so that you can pave your own way, a different way that takes you into freedom? You don't want any entanglements. When I did ancestor healing, I remember I always thought that I had my father lineage always with me. My grandfather is always like my spirit guide or my guardian angel, if you want, or whatever you want to call it. I just believe that he's there in the ethers with me, always watching over me. And I always send him love and blessings. But I only thought that he existed until I kept searching and searching. And then I realized I have more of them coming through. Then I realized that part of my mission is actually to honor them, to bless them and love them every single day, no matter what they did and did not do. Remember, because I'm alive, I have a body, I am much more powerful, I can create change. Their time is gone. They had their chance. Maybe they took it, but they couldn't make it. Maybe they didn't take it. Maybe they had their own reasons. Again, they were doing the best they could with the circumstances or with the resources available to them. Maybe they didn't have access. Maybe they were on survival mode all the time. You know, it was fear. They were driven by fear, not by love. They didn't understand the language of love. You know, so thinking about them and honoring them and not seeing them in their victimhood, seeing them in their full potential. You see yourself in your full potential and you realize your own magnificence. You are magnificent. I am magnificent. We all are magnificent because we have a body, we have a mind to think, we have a heart to feel, we have a gut to know. We have it if we choose to unlock these things and choose a different path. When we say enough is enough, then only we can. When I visited these places, I remember it was like pain and celebration together because it was painful what they've been through. Only when I saw their pain, you can never be in their shoes unless you choose to be in your own shoe, living their same experience. Yes, that's when you become the perpetrator because only then you will understand because you're seeing things from a different perspective. And when you see, when you see things from a different perspective, the truth will start revealing itself. The truth is multifaceted. Multifaceted. Until you put all the pieces together, you won't be able to see the full picture. So choose to be that person who stands up and says, enough is enough. I don't want this entanglement. I want that flow to come rushing through me. I receive their love. They pour into your heart so much love. So much love. And if you're a person that always feels disconnected and not supported, this is the biggest support that you can always have. It's there for you. Again, it's a relationship that you need to tap into. Once you build that relationship on good foundations, on love, on compassion, on forgiveness, on grace, on peace, you free them and you free yourself. And then what are you doing? You're not taking this to the next generation. If you choose to have a next generation, your descendants will not carry that anymore. It stops with you. You cut it here. It ends here. This is the power that you have. You know, think about that. Imagine what impact you would be creating. Imagine how much magnificence you're going to be feeling. Magnificence, not in a way that you're better than them or you're better than anybody else or you're like above God. No, that's not what I mean. Magnificence, you will understand your worth. You will feel supported. You will feel their love because they are sending their blessings, because they are so ever grateful for you. In fact, I'll tell you that most of the times they give a space within the family for somebody that they know will be able to turn things around. And most often, that person is you. And what a great honor it is. And what a great gift, no matter how difficult it is. Even if you need to pave your own way by yourself, and even if that way is very different than anybody else's way. It's your mind that tricks you to believing that you're not going to be loved and you're not going to be honored. They will always be there to honor and cherish you and love you infinitely and abundantly. The last thing they want is for you to suffer. And this is something I've always channeled, and I've always maybe not understood it until I did this video now, and these are tears of joy and honor to them. Because even the ones that I didn't know, I thank them for everything that they've given to me. They've given me the best gift ever. It's a gift of life. I'm in a body. It means that I can create whatever I desire, whatever I choose. They're not here. They can't do that. They had their chance, but they're no longer here. But they passed on this legacy to me so that I can make the most out of it. To live freely, to live as I please, to live with my highest potential, to live in love, in compassion, in grace, in ease, not in suffering. Because even when I channel ancestors sometimes, they say, we didn't pass this on to you so that you can suffer. We're passing it on to you so you can change it, so you can release it and make it better for the people to follow. Not for you to suffer, for you to live fully and embrace life fully. So to my ancestors, and I would actually recommend that you do this as well, to my ancestors, I say, thank you. Thank you for giving me the gift of life. And I love you, and I forgive myself, and I forgive you for anything that I've done or I've thought or I've taken on consciously or unconsciously. It's not your fault. It's not mine either. You know, enough living in the victim mentality. It's time to honor them and to love them. And just take a moment to feel their love in your heart. Feel that warmth, that life that they gave you. Life is warm because it's full of love. Even if we're in the winter season, so long as the sun is shining, there's always warmth. Even in places where the sun does not shine, there's always warmth, there's always love. So think about all these people and what you can do to change and create that positive ripple effect in their lives and in yours too. From my heart to yours, from Yas with infinite love, your self-love mentor and coach. I love you.